they doing? They smiling in your face all the time. They wanna take your place. The backstabbers, backstabbers. They smiling in your face all the time. They wanna take your place. The backstabbers, backstabbers.
Big Hick on the mic, gon' tell you what's true. Breaking down the news, he's reacting for you. They smile in your face all the time, but Big Hick's here to set it straight. Hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe to Big Hick with a real news vibe. Stories on the line and the streets wanna talk. Truth in the video, watch the people walk. Every headline heavy, every clip it breaks down. Big Ink bringing clarity, truth all around. They smile in your face, oh yeah, but the lies can't hide from the light today. So hit like, drop a comment, and Every angle, every side. Big Ink got the vision that you can't deny. In a world full of noise, let the channel be your guide. He break it down real, nothing watered inside. So when the world try to trick you, mislead you, misguide, Big Ink tell it straight, truth will always survive. So support the movement, keep the message alive. Hit like, comment, subscribe.
Happy Wednesday, happy Wednesday, happy Wednesday. Guys, we see the thumbnail. We see the thumbnail. We see what this conversation is going to be about. If y'all didn't know, y'all know now. Shout out to June. It's Men's Mental Health Month. Nothing against everything else is going on in the month of June. Nothing against it. I ain't got nothing to do with it. That's not my lifestyle. But one thing that I do have to deal with as being a man, and one thing I had to do in my lifespan of 50 years, soon to be 51 on Monday, is men's mental health. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of people talking about it. But hopefully today starts off a new change, a new leaf, and we trying to do something different. As fellas, as men, we're trying to have these conversations. We're trying to engage in these conversations. We try to have these conversations because it's greatly needed, especially in our community. Nothing against everybody else, the white folks and everyone else. I understand we all need it, truth be told. Let's be honest, we all need it. But the concern that I really need to have is in my community. So I appreciate every last one of you beautiful people being here. Every last one of you beautiful people. I promise you I do. Guys, we are going to drop the link in the second hour. But this first hour, me and my man, Mr. Scott, was going to have this conversation. Hopefully somebody's able to benefit from this conversation. Whether it's the stats and the information we share between the stories that we tell, or just what's going on with you in your daily life. We all have to deal with these things. We all have to address these things. We all are facing critical situations. Just recently, let me say this, a young man who's going to have to serve at least minimum of, I think, 17 years. But he got sentenced for 35. That young man's whole life is upside down. His whole life has been turned around. Not just that young man's, but the families of both young men. One's no longer here. One's here, but he's being locked up in prison. And everybody in that family is going to be affected. That's crazy. Not only that, but we just had a case in South Carolina where a young man lost his life over a bottle of water. See, those are real people, and they dealing with real life situations. We all have to. But with that being said, let me acknowledge some of the people who have come through and blessed the channel. They didn't have to, they chose to, and I appreciate the blessings. So shout out to my partner, Taylor Bell. We run a NFL channel, the Just NFL. Shout out to my man Taylor. He didn't have to, he chose to. He said, good show, good topic. Keep up the great work. Brother Taylor Bell, I appreciate you for coming through with the $3 super chat. You didn't have to. You chose to, and I appreciate the blessings. Shout out to my man through the fire. Hey, through the fire pockets. If y'all don't know nothing about them, make sure y'all go over and subscribe to the brother, as well as my man Taylor Bell with E. Sims. He's on all social medias. Check him out. He said, salute to the man of honor, man. The man of the hour. I appreciate that, brother. I don't know if the man of the hour, I'm just a man who has something on his heart, who has something to say. And I thought this was a great topic that we definitely need to talk about. So shout out to my man through the Fire Podcast for coming through with the $5. He didn't have to, he chose to. And I appreciate the blessings. Thank you, sir. Not only that, my brother, DJ Hamp. I don't call him DJ Hamp, I just call him Hamp. I don't know if because I got that type of relationship. We broke bread together. We shared some stories together. Man, I was on the show. Man, shout out to that brother for coming through. Does great thing over there. Man, if you ain't had the opportunity to subscribe to this brother, I think you need to do so. So salute to my brother for the $10 super chat. He said, man, just coming through, say salute, brother. Shout out to you, brother, for the $10. You didn't have to, you chose to. And I appreciate the blessings. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. I promise you, I do. But guys, let me go on and introduce the guests in honor tonight. My brother, man, I met him on a sports show. Now, we was over cutting up about talking about sports. My man Nines, my man Mills, over on the sports show, man. We had a good time. But unfortunately, they was harassing us. And they was harassing us about Scottie Pippen. Shame on this guy, these guys. We're not gonna hold it against them. We're gonna charge it up to ignorance because they just don't know how good Scottie Pippen really was. They want to sleep on him and shame him, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. I don't know the way they was handling about Scottie. Scottie might have some mental issues he need to deal with after that. The way they dogged him so goddamn bad. But let's get to it. So my brother, man, he comes from went to school in Illinois, right? Mr. Scott. Been doing this thing for 20 years of experience, providing clinical administration supervision services throughout the District of Columbia. Man, this man's been doing it for a long time, helping a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of brothers have really benefited from his experience. With that being said, let me go and bring the brother up, Brother Cortez. How you doing tonight, big brother? You good?
I'm good. I'm blessed. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you being here, man. We come here tonight. We know what we're here for. Man, we're here to talk about men's mental health, man. And the month of June is our month. Like I said, no offense to nobody else and what the hell was going on in the month of June. But to me, the most important thing that I have to be concerned myself with is men's mental health. Because there's a lot of brothers out there suffering. Some of them suffering in silence. Some of them not suffering in silence. They just out open with it. But for the most part, they suffering in silence. And I hate seeing that. I hate to see men go through that, the challenges that they're going through. But they're dealing with that. So what say you, brother? I know in your field, you've dealt with a lot of those situations or experienced a lot of those individuals who was dealing with some trying times. How does that, let me ask you this. How does that affect you mentally when you're engaged in some of these conversations, man?
So in our field, we call that vicarious trauma, right? When you are adopting others, people's trauma by listening and talking with them, you inherently, that trauma gets passed on you because we're human. We react to things when stories are being told, when information is being shared, when someone is sharing their deepest traumatic event. Some of that gets put on to the person who's receiving that information. Because we can put ourselves in that person's shoes, right? And when you do that, that process, you endure some of that pain. It may not be as impactful as the person who's live sharing, in person, get involved in that situation. But there is a level of that you adopt when you hear those stories, and it's important to keep that in mind and be purposeful when you go into any situation as far as providing therapy. To when you say protect yourself, right? Protect yourself and make sure your mental is good. before you can help other people with their mental health issues. Uh, because if you're not ready, if you're not prepared, then you can definitely fall victim to some of that for care. So how I deal with it, I keep myself prepared and intentional about taking care of some of the stuff that I here I debrief. And what I mean by debrief, I have a therapist of my own that I talk to after um, providing others therapy, just so that I can share with that person about some of the stuff that I'm experiencing and feeling, and put stuff in perspective so that I can kind of keep doing this work.
Good stuff. And it's funny you say that you have a therapist of your own, because you always hear about people wondering if therapists actually go to therapy themselves and address maybe some of the things that they're challenged or deal with, especially when they're having conversations with individuals who are going through a lot. And it's kind of hard not to take on some of them burdens or some of these stories you may share. I know in my time when I have conversation and mentoring a couple young men, how I kind of end up adopting some of their problems. I'm hearing like, damn, man. And then you feeling some type of way about that. You know what I'm saying? He's like, man, what can I do? And then it's to the point where you spending your, a lot of time trying to resolve those issues, but shit, everything else around you could be falling because you're trying to help somebody else while not paying attention to your own house is burning. You know what I'm saying? And so I caught myself doing that. And I had to kind of take a step back, you know what I'm saying, and do that. And I hated that I had to do it, but having them conversations with the young men, they kind of understood, man. They said, man, don't get yourself too engulfed in our situations and forget about what you got to do, you know what I'm saying, in your mental, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that is deep, man. So I could imagine as you dealing with those type of issues, it could be easily done. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, hey guys, for those who I know, if you look at the bottom of the screen, I got a ticker going across the ticker, just letting people know, if you are someone is in a crisis, you know what I'm saying, immediately, confidential help available is 24/7. Call or text this number 988 Suicide Crisis Lifeline. So please, if you know somebody who needs that number or need that information, encourage them to give them a call and get the help that they need. And I will have this going across the ticket to the remainder of the show. I won't take it down for the whole show. It'll be there. So for those who missed it, make sure you take advantage of it. Share it with somebody, loved ones, family members, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's not just for men, guys. It's for everybody. So definitely take advantage of the opportunity if you need that. But I got a couple topics that I definitely want to we're going to definitely talk about, and a couple categories that I share with you, and that I make sure that I presented to you, because these are situations that affect me personally. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's me personally or someone that I know or in my family. You know what I'm saying? And one of the first things is suicide rates amongst Black men. A long time ago in the 90s, probably I want to say about 96, I had a family member who took their life, right? And as a kid in college, you don't understand the details of everything. And then unfortunately in our community, we don't talk about that a lot, right? It's just not something really talked about as like, it's kind of taboo-ish. But that's something happened in our family. I didn't really understand reasons why or all that. But one thing I do know is that when somebody does that, I don't think they think about the ramifications that it affects the family. They're looking for that immediate gratification of being done with everything, that things are just overwhelming, is too much to bear, and they feel like taking themselves out is the answer. Well, that may be the answer to you, but what about the people, the aftermath that's left behind after you do something like that, after you make a decision like that? You know what I'm saying? Lord forbid there's some kids involved. You know what I'm saying? You have maybe parents, siblings that has to deal with the aftermath, you know, and we all know that most times if you have a life insurance policy, they don't cover that. And so now the family's forced to find, you know, some financial means in order to deal with this. So when you come across situations like that, man, how does that work?
So it just add to the piece where and I've done a lot of work in suicide, suicidal or homicidal um, expressions, right? With I work in emergency room in the district. So, and in my other capacity, I counsel people who come to the hospital through ambulance, the police, who have you, you know, having issues with suicide, being, you know, on the forefront of their mind. And what you do is, um, it's a difficult thing, right? But it's a serious thing. Sometimes people don't understand how serious it is, right? Because
Mhm.
you know there's you know secondary gain from the expression of suicide, right? It's,
Yeah.
attention, maybe some of the things that you know people may receive because of the alertness of what they're expressing, but it's very serious when you start talking about suicide, right? Because the study shows that you know it's usually a cry for help.
Mm.
When you get it, it's probably a lot of times people have hit their last end. They've been crying for help. They've been asking for help or crying out for help in their way, and now have been receiving the help. And this is the only way that they see that they can resolve the situation they're in is just thinking about like, what if I'm not here anymore?
Mm.
You know, if I'm not here anymore, then the problems go away. But like you said, it don't, right? Because the people you leave behind that they take on that. But for that person, there is um, a level of um, uh, that you know these things that goes unnoticed, right? When you look back on like, man, the guy, you know, or someone who committed suicide, you look back, you miss on some of the opportunities that you could have really took advantage of to kind of
Mm.
maybe shift the thinking, um, especially for Black men, because we, you know, we've just been socialized and conditioned to not, you know, suppress our emotion, not show
Yeah.
emotion.
Yeah.
You know, ever since I was a boy, you know, we don't cry. We don't shed tears. And if we do, you know, we isolate ourselves. We don't
Mhm.
um, let people know about, you know, what's going on with us or struggle, because that's how we've been taught. So that's the one big thing is that our emotions are important, right? We have emotions. We cry. I mean, I cry.
Mhm.
There's things that move me to tears.
Mhm.
Pain is real, and
Mhm.
we, you know, people, when you cry, people are like you're weak. You
Mhm.
know, I think sometimes that's a strength, right? With understanding that emotions can be strength ridden, can provide
Mhm.
you strength. So no one want to be ridiculed for their emotions. So it's important to take heed to those behaviors, those instances when people want to share the deepest thoughts and really take it serious um, in this line of work, because it's real. Because study shows that it happens instantly, instantly, and there's and usually the most fatal way that people, a lot of people with gunplay and all this stuff.
Mhm.
You see a
Mhm.
lot of that happening, and even in I've heard in some studies saying that it's people out here that go out here purposely to get police officers to shoot them. They do
Mhm.
things to in a suicidal way,
Mhm.
but it's real. So take heed to the struggles, right? People that people go through, and especially men, and open up and be expressive, because um, there are avenues to get help and assistance.
Mm. Yeah, I think somebody put in a comments selfish. That's a fact.
Mhm.
I know those are some harsh words from people who may have went through it, but that's exactly what it is. Let's be honest. That's exactly what it is. And unfortunately, people take that route for that reasons, because they don't care about whatever else it affects anyone else. It's all about what makes them feel better or at ease or at peace. Unfortunately, it happens way too often than it
Mhm.
should, especially in our community, man. You know, man, you remember back in the days, we would say that's some stuff some white folks do. We don't be doing that. Mm-mm, that's not it.
Mhm.
That's not it. And when that happened with my kinfolk, I can't say that. I watched family go through that, and that's something you'll never get over or get past. I remember getting the news. I remember getting the phone call. You know, it, it's it was challenging. You know what I'm saying? And I remember so because I was at a down place in my life, dealing with being redshirted, not knowing if I'm going to get opportunity to play. Uh, is he going to recruit over me? All of those things was in my head. I wasn't getting the playing time. I was pretty much a practice dummy. You know what I'm saying? And doing everything, but actually getting opportunity of doing what I love to do. So that was hard. You know what I'm saying? You dealing with that as a young adult, didn't feel like you had no one to turn to, no one would understand. Nobody's gonna listen. Who cares? You're a man, tough it up, get over it, get past it. You know what I'm saying? Now I wasn't to the point of, thinking about ending myself or nothing like that. But it was just something, what I'm saying, that I had to deal with. You know what I'm saying? And then I get that news that a family member has took their life. And so now I'm dealing with that. Now I gotta deal with this. I mean, I don't know. It was just challenging. It was
It's
just
interesting when people are at their wits, right? The end, that
hmm
they are, they're not thinking about, who they just don't want to be here no more. They just lost it. That's the only solution in their life, given whatever they're going through. That's their solution. And when when people suffer, when they're suffering, right? Because no one just wakes up and be like, I'm gonna end my life, right? It's a long process of trying to resolve the situation. And but so when people suffering, sometimes they, and this is not just for individual, but it's people around them, just being aware of pick up on those signs, those tidbit signs when someone is suffering to the point where they're, being isolated, like they don't want to do things. They want to just, be by themselves, or they don't want to even they don't have fun. They don't feel like having fun, and given that, opportunity to talk and be, and because someone may say, they don't never say I'm depressed, right? people don't use those terms, those clinical terms.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
might say, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I done had enough.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that hopeless thinking that gets you caught up, right? That, um, no one is back to that whole, no one wants to carry other people's burden, right? You don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
but you need to uh, have early intervention. Prevention is the best way to address this issue, suicide. Picking up early and creating a safe place for people to be supportive, not um, more damaging when they're getting, some help. So it's very, very critical because it's life at hand, right? It's really what you're dealing with, someone's life. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and interesting enough, it's not just suicide, it's homicidal. Like I've had, people to the point where they don't not just take their own lives, but take other people's lives. Because they're in that level of mental anguish that that's just as impactful as taking their own life. So it's good to really in our community to really pick up because they're saying it's a lot of act that people who are suicidal in the Black community are turning into homicidal acts now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really to be cognizant of that too when someone is at that point in their life where life is not important to them anymore.
For sure, man. And the crazy thing about it, man, it was like, you know, my brother would hang tight with him. You know what I'm saying? That was, him and my brother was ace spoon coons. And, you know what I'm saying? They was cool. They hung out all the time. And, my brother said the last time I seen him, man, everything was good. We thought everything was all good. He didn't show no signs of, you know, what what I guess we consider what looked like depression. You know what I'm saying? It was something like that. But
Mhm.
um I don't know. It was
Yeah,
just
it's
it was
interesting, especially with a lot of men in general. Like they frequently present as irritable. Like somebody that's
mhm,
always a little bit more angrier than they used to be. They just just things just not you know working out for them. Then it don't
mhm,
look like you would think it looks like. But for black men, it really is a difference. They might be into substances now. They might be using different type of stuff
mhm,
than they used to use just to escape the reality, escape what they're going through. They're looking for substances to relieve them, to relieve the pain, and they
mhm,
overindulging or they're experimenting with stuff um, that's a little bit out there for that purpose. And we call that self-medicating when you start having that self-medicating behavior where you're looking for something to change how you feel. And the side effect of that is uh, a lot of times can be really damaging for your mental health. People sometimes I like going back to social withdrawal, don't even want to be social anymore. We call them antisocial or whatever. When this person was always sociable or kind, now they just withdrawn from being social and or even taking start doing risk taking behavior like doing stuff like man that's crazy
mhm,
doing driving at like 90 just doing all just crazy type of stuff. Take heed to that because that may not be an openly expressed sadness, right? But it's masked. It's masked behind sadness. Is that they're dealing with because it don't always look the same for everybody.
mhm.
So, uh,
Brother Fig comes through, man. He says, Real talk, man. I've struggled with suicidal thoughts, porn addiction, being the damn man, being and now of my autism in the past. Your name now after I guess he meant overcoming that. I want to let people know you're stronger than you think. Man, that's real
Mhm,
talk.
mhm,
That's real talk right there. Struggling with an addiction, and especially like corn addiction.
mhm,
People don't look as that as an addiction. You know what I'm saying? People don't look at, oh, it's just a man being a man.
mhm,
You know, so every man watch a little bit of a little risque television or movies, or a
mhm,
man of a certain age like me and you, books. Do they
mhm.
even sell them magazines anymore? I don't even know if they sell them magazines no goddamn more.
Playboy, yeah.
God damn.
The
You remember
hustler.
back in the day. You remember back in the days.
You get your uncle's stash.
God damn, come on, man. See, I'm being vulnerable right now. I shouldn't be this vulnerable with you, son of bitches, but
Yeah,
I'm going
yeah.
to be because it's real. It's man mental health month, and we're going to talk about what we're
Mhm,
going to talk about. I remember back in the day, I used to go with my buddies. His little dude nickname was Pookie. That's crazy. We call him Pookies and Ray Rays, but his nickname was Pookie. His real name was William. Look at my wife. Don't tell on yourself, Hank.
mhm, 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 mhm.
What about it? Hopefully, they don't put me in a doghouse, but
All
we're gonna
right.
be all right. We're gonna be all right.
Mhm.
Back in the day, you know, used to go to his house, hang out. We used to play fun. His father had, I mean, collections of Hustler, Playboy, even had the Playboy channel. You remember when the cable had the Playboy channel? It wouldn't come on to after 8 o'clock at night.
Mhm.
I used to try to hang over there.
Oh
Try to
yeah.
hang over. Hey, who you thinking, Mama? Let me spend the night. She said, I don't know if they let you, but I remember one time I did. Man, Daddy came down and said, boy, caught our ass. Boy, I got my ass lit up. I'm like, God damn, you ain't my goddamn daddy. I'm getting a whooping. He got caught looking at his books and watching the movies.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah,
it is what it
extremely.
is. But people don't understand it. That really is a thing. That's
Mhm.
really a
I
thing.
I think it was a
You don't laugh at me. This shit ain't funny. I'm
I think it
traumatized.
was yeah, they had I think it was some gospel singer who had it had
Uh,
talked
uh,
about
uh,
that.
uh,
Um,
Kurt Franklin.
Kurt
Kurt
Frank, yep,
Franklin. Yes.
came out saying it's it's real, but it's definitely when you are using that, you're addicted to something that, of course, uh, you're looking for some chemical reaction in your body, and
Mhm.
you're, just like substances bring on that as well. So you're looking for something outside for happiness, for joy,
Yeah.
for entertainment or relief. It becomes, um, when you draw onto that in an addictive behavior, then it can be problematic because it impacts your livelihood. Just the way you naturally or health, just a healthy way of looking at your own sexual experience. But yeah, the person who shared that information, and he mentioned autism too. There is, understanding that piece, which is, just socially, um, challenging for autistic individuals, right? To be in a social element, to go to school, and people, look at you a certain way and expect you to respond a certain way, but because you have this diagnosis, you're not capable of responding or socially deal with. So people make they ridicule or they shame you, and they do it. So stuff comes with that um, for individuals, and he has to endure that and that pain, and I get that because a lot of people don't understand autism and don't understand what it means and what it's about, and so they're just going off of misinformation, and and you have to deal with that on a day-to-day basis from the masses. So it can be very difficult. Can be very difficult. Being strong. We tell black man, you got to be strong. You can do it. You can beat beat this or get through it. But sometimes strength ain't enough. It's just
That's a fact.
um, being emotionally healthy is important, right? Just being healthy. Always strength can, because that's what always people think we have. We can do it, but that don't mean you're immune to it, right? Just because you have the strength to do it, don't mean it don't impact you. It's important to deal with what's impactful, what you're going through, um, so that somebody can understand that and help you through it and process that.
And and when he shared about autism, um, I got the privilege for a school year of teaching a couple of kids who was dealing with autism, who was autistic. Um, yeah, there's a special place in heaven for parents who has kids with autism because man, it's a challenge.
Mm,
It's a
yeah.
challenge. I only had to do it for 5 hours a day, right? But I couldn't imagine dealing with that on a regular basis, man. I mean, it was challenging for me, and it tested my patience. And unfortunately, I think I probably would have handled it better if I knew the challenge. I didn't know. I just thought he was just acting out, acting bad. He
Hmm.
Now my next year I got one that was nonverbal. You know what I'm saying? A
Hmm.
nonverbal autism. That was a little easier, but it was kind of challenging. Let me say this. It was more challenging because he just didn't talk. So it's like writing stuff down. But when he's anxious and you know hyperventilating, he's panicking. It's like I can't read what he's saying. I don't understand. So now I'm trying to figure this out. Now, luckily, I had a great assistant in my classroom, a helper that was able to understand what was going on and how to deal with him, and it was familiar with the young man. So that kind of helped me as a substitute teacher. You don't know what you're going to run into, right? So it was a challenge, but it was definitely an experience. That you definitely would want to share with anybody who's dealing with that. Hey, man, shout out to you guys, man. I have an understanding of what you're dealing with. When I hear about parents who are dealing with kids with autism, man, I like to
Yeah,
say it's a
it's
special place in heaven for them families, man, and the
mm,
parents to have to deal with that, man. So
yeah. I have family members that's um, dealing with that. I have cousins and even in my own life, I've had to, because my son, just disclosed he had some issues when he
mhm,
was 3 years old, 4 years old. That the teachers was like, he needs to be tested,
mhm,
and we, found out there was more ADHD than autism. But it is something that,
yeah,
as a parent, that you just want to help and you want to assist, and you don't know how to assist in that situation. And a lot of times you start blaming yourself and you blaming a lot
mhm,
of other reasons why things are the way they are. So it's difficult, because and to be honest, the whole autism thing, it's really a perspective of how people look at the situation. It's
mhm,
you you really judging someone based on your terms rather than based on their terms, right? You're looking at someone because they're, if you look at their ability cognitively, it's off the chain. Like they have the wit, the smarts a lot of times to do more than any other individual. But sometimes it's just the social piece. It's the
Mhm.
social piece that is lacking. That a lot of times you pass judgment on that person. A lot of times it's without you just don't know the what all the the ways to kind of communicate, especially um, with someone nonverbal. But there are a level of communication going on. It's just not verbal. So
Mhm.
that it can be difficult. But taking heed to there's other ways and other modes of and adopting different ways, different ways of thinking, different ways, not being rigid, right? Not being like this is the only way that someone can communicate. No, open your horizon, open yourself up, um, so that someone can express themselves the way they want to express you, and not to, and not just for autists. That's everyone.
Yeah.
You have some people who don't want to express their feelings in a sit down, communicative way. Sometimes they want to draw. They're artistic. They want to draw what they feel. Be receptive to that. Um, so it's you can't just put yourself in a box. What I mean
Mhm.
when you deal with this stuff, and mental health is the same way. You can't put yourself in a box and think that you're gonna get someone to express the way you think that they should express.
Mhm. That's a
So
fact. That's a fact. Mrs. Hink says, yes, autistic children are geniuses and highly intelligent.
mhm,
No, that's right. No, that's right. Average man, thanks for coming through, big brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And guys, if y'all have any questions, please more than welcome to drop them in the chat. I will be opening and dropping a link here shortly for people to come up. I got a couple guys in the back, but one of them's not connecting. I think Mo, it says his device is not connecting, so I don't know what's going on with Mo and D Warren. I don't know if he look like his camera is not working, but we're gonna open it up for you guys here shortly. Um, but we're gonna get y'all up. I promise you. And my man Mo, if you get your camera, get connected, we're gonna get you together all the way. So hopefully you can hear me. Uh, the next thing I want to talk about is this PTSD in the Black communities. I know some people think it's normal for us to go through some of the bullshit we went through. Maybe violence, bullying, shooting, constant fighting with family members, neighbors, and all of that. I know we thought that was normal, no big deal, but no, really, it really is, because it kind of goes into the next subject too, as well, is childhood trauma. But first things first, we're gonna definitely talk about this PTSD in the Black community and how we deal with what we have to deal with coming up from wherever we come up. You know what I'm saying? So, share with me when I say this or when you see this on the screen. All right, what comes to mind for you?
so post traumatic stress disorder. That's what PTSD stands for. Post traumatic stress disorder. So people usually in historically, when I use the Bible, what therapists use called the DSM-5, we use to kind of break down all our diagnoses and what symptoms are, and what they look like, and make sure that we give a proper diagnosis. And usually, when this diagnosis came about, it was for people in the military, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was limited to military wars, being the way war is seen, or people who go through those, is really horrific, and things, killings, and just in the name of countries and stuff like that. You had a lot of veterans coming back with, just being impacted by all the stuff that they saw at war. So you saw like catastrophic events, just being engulfed in all this type of, warfare. A lot of military people came back with these issues.
Mhm.
Um, but many black individuals experience chronic, not just, I mean, chronic trauma.
Mhm.
I mean, think about you growing up, what we had. I mean, just think about just slavery in a sense. So chronic trauma, right? Um, Related to like community violence. Like I remember growing up in the city of Chicago, it wasn't a day you go by that, you ain't heard a gunshot, or, you go out and you actually witness someone being shot. So community violence is every day. You're seeing racism every day. You're dealing with it, where it's traumatic when you go through a level of racism. Someone like, back in civil rights time, all those, individuals are going through what they had to go through to get rights, right? To get voting rights, to get, equal representation. Family instability can be very traumatic. Not able to eat when I'm going to get a meal can be traumatic for an individual, right? Or uh, being abused or neglected in your household is trauma. So a lot of that is, a lot of in the black community, we deal with a lot of that inequities that brings on those impactful traumatic events. Um, and a lot of times we just normalize it. It just becomes, an ambulance going off in the neighborhood, ain't a gunshot in your neighborhood. It's normal. This is what happens. So, um, in those instances, you know, when communities, families start normalizing it, uh, you start overlooking impacts, right? You don't see how impactful that the trauma can be in your life, where now you got a cousin strung out on heroin, or you got someone that out there selling, they're using sex for money, so it's deep. It gets really, really deep of
Mhm.
how people deal with trauma and the effects of it. Um, and if you don't address it, it can really lead to some damaging um, impacts in your life. Usually, symptoms you get, people have being more irritable, can't sleep at night. You can't get rest. You up, you're irritable. You have a lot of anxiety. You're nervous. You become, sometimes you just become emotionally numb to stuff because it's
Yeah.
been going on so long. You don't even know how to respond or react to some stuff that you will see something happen in front of you. Somebody, like, oh well, this is, I don't even have a emotional response to this. So it can cause a lot of problems in your relationships too. So it's good to kind of be aware of trauma and be someone that informed of how you can deal with the trauma in a healthy way, um, because it can really damage you.
Yeah. Let me let these guys know. Hey, D Warren and Mo, I dropped the link in the back so you guys can actually watch it from YouTube. So if you click on that link, it'll take you straight to YouTube, and then you can watch it from there, so you can see the whole the show, so you can enjoy it from that angle. So you don't have to just hang out in the back if you don't want to, because if not, y'all just be hanging out back there. But just if y'all hit that link that I put in the private chat, it'll take you directly to the show, and then you could just, leave comments and leave your feedback and all that good stuff. So there you go. But I appreciate you guys definitely coming up for sure. Um, my next thing is this childhood trauma, and we kind of touched on it, with the PTSD and this right here. I can really speak to because I faced that, right? One of the things is when my parents went through a divorce, and me and you had a conversation yesterday, and I talked about how that affected me. As a child, you felt like, is it something that I did, right? Did I do something wrong? Was it something I did to drive my father to leave my mother? You know what I'm saying? And those are the type of things that I was thinking to myself. You know what I'm saying? Those were self conversations I was having to myself because I thought it was something I did. I remember getting in trouble the day that my dad left. I got in trouble with school, and I'm thinking he's leaving because I got in trouble with school. He's leaving because I got a referral from acting up in school. And I remember begging him, don't leave, don't leave. At the time, I think I was playing with a little police car. We was watching I think a rerun of the Blues Brothers. And I was riding around that little police car like they was, you know what I'm saying? And then I just hear this noise of, him going downstairs, getting stuff. And then I'm like, what's going on? And I'm going to look, and he's packing up a suitcase. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking, oh, snap. He's mad at me because I got in trouble at school. And he's leaving. As a kid, you don't know nobody. You just, that was my thought process. It wasn't until, down the road where, no, it wasn't because of me. It's because him and my mother could no longer get along. They're fussing and fighting all the time. They're going back and forth. And, whatever it was, it was. You know what I'm saying? And he was just done with it. You know what I'm saying? And I remember my mom just talking bad about my dad and me having ill feelings towards my mom because I'm saying, you just saying it because you're jealous. You're jealous because daddy has moved on and moved out. And now he's starting a new life with his new wife. And you ain't got nobody. And even though 85% of what she's saying was true about it, but you couldn't tell me that. But it kind of made me feel some way towards her and draw me closer to my father. You know what I'm saying? Even though I was one of those kids that, man, when he gonna come pick me up? He said he's gonna come pick me up. He don't show up. When he gonna come up? He said he's gonna pick up. He don't show up. And the shit she was sharing with me was true. That's what he was doing. He was actually, he made his child support payment every week. I go to the mailbox. I get the check out of the mailbox. He drop it off. It wasn't because he was short on money. He was a dead because of that. Financially, he wasn't. Emotionally, he just wasn't there. I remember going to his brother because his brother seen the directions I was going towards, how I was, and seeing that absentee as a father and looking for a father figure. Fortunate enough, my grandfather stepped in. Fortunate enough, my uncle stepped in for him, his brother, to pick up the slack. But he would always challenge his brother, say, why are you doing this to your child? Why are you not taking care of your two sons? You got two sons that need you and you nowhere to be found. And it took a couple years for him to do that before he stepped up and started doing what he needed to do. But in that time, that really hardened my heart against him. It really hurt our relationship. And it took a long time for me to get past that and forgive him. And I remember I shared with you, that was one of the times I had to go to therapy because of that. I had to learn how to forgive him and move past that. And one of the things I shared with the therapist was, I'm having kids now. And he's starting to make these promises to my kids. And one of the conversations had to be had. Don't hurt me and disappoint me like you did. Damn. I don't do that. If you're not gonna come, don't tell them you're gonna come. Tell me, I'll prepare them. And if you don't come, they don't know you, to just surprise them. But I'll make sure when you tell me you're gonna do what you're gonna do, show up. Don't disappoint my kid like you did me. And lo and to his credit, he showed up. He did what he had to do. Now, you know what I'm saying? I used to look at my kid like, damn, I wish he did that for me. I wish he did it for me. But thank goodness for that therapy that I was able to forgive him and get past that. Like I said, it took some time. It wasn't an overnight process. But you know, little things like that can affect kids. People don't realize that. I know one thing, when I went through my divorce, me and my ex agreed on, we're not going to talk down to each other in front of our son. And there's been some times that I feel like saying some goddamn, I get on my goddamn nerves. But I had to make sure that I had to restrain, control, contain those situations, even when she got on my nerves, or even when she said some slick shit. I wanted, you know what I'm saying? I just had to make sure I had to take the high road, because I had to make sure I set the example for my son. Despite of what goes on between you, me and your mother, one thing we do agree on is you, and how we're going to take care of you, how we're going to discipline you, how we're going to make sure you get what you need. So those are, you know, little things like that that happened to me in my childhood molded me as an adult to not do certain things, to move certain way. Me and my brother make sure, regardless of what goes on, we're gonna be in our kids' life. We're not gonna come with no excuses. It's not gonna be no financial excuses. We're not gonna say, well, I ain't got time, or we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out. So, but if you can, Tez, kind of talk about this childhood trauma thing, and how it can affect families and the children and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, Hank, this is important, right? Childhood. When you start talking about children, you know, children are, experience trauma. They can't handle some of the stuff that the adults can't even handle. You asking a child to
That's a
handle?
fact.
That's the impact. That's the real deal. That's truth telling right here. Childhood. Now you talking about someone who was an adult is impacted, and now you're looking at a child. You got to remember, child is not as resilient, not as strong, is not capable in the brain to receive this trauma, and their brain ain't even developed yet, right? So that trauma is impacting that brain that's trying to develop, that's going through you got to remember, a child brain your brain don't fully develop until you in your mid-20s. So we talk about adolescence, the stuff that with teenagers and stuff that not able to regulate their emotions, is because trauma and all this stuff is impacting that brain that you have up there, and it's it can't develop in a normal process because of what they have to deal with, nutrition and abuse and all this other violence, and they're not able to trust, they're not able to have strong self-esteem, confidence that we all talk about, that's important in life. The more confident you are, the better you move in this society, right? Trauma impacts that. It gives you, pause, when you've been traumatized, to feel like you're comfortable in any given space. Um, just having, um, and you discussed it, unresolved trauma. When you're not able to resolve it, and you go into adulthood based on, like you said, you had to deal with as a child, that the trauma that you had, because let's believe divorce is very traumatic, right? For a household, not only for the individuals that's going through it, but it's also for that household, that family, because you're removing an entity that you see every day, you hear from every day, or you deal with on a daily. But now it's a change in how that's gonna be processed now. Uh, so that whole experience is almost like grief and loss now that you're dealing with, because everything's changing in front of your eyes, and as a child you don't have the abilities to understand it at that level. So it's important to take heed to that and really concentrate and focus on protecting the children, because they on this earth to be children, not to deal with the adult stuff that adults are dealing with, right? They're not able to kind of play and develop their whole process, because it's a process for them, right? Being able to, like you said, heal from that, like you going, healing is, important. It's a healing aspect to this as well, where you trauma is impactful, but there's ways you can heal from it, and really going to therapy, getting in supportive relationships. I'm glad you mentioned the therapy piece, the healthy coping strategies of how to kind of deal with the stuff that you notice from yourself by being impacted by the trauma, to help kind of move through life. My years, I've been in child welfare. I started out when I got my MSW. I started working in child welfare, where I saw a lot of trauma, right, from the children that was exposed to, that was brought into foster care. And that's an instance where a child is removed from their family dynamic and placed in another family, and we expect them to thrive and move, which is, let's call a spade a spade. It's not feasible, but we try to do the best we can to protect that child. So in child welfare, I have countless times dealt with traumatic events of a child who I had to literally go pick up out of their home and have a discussion. Like, look, we got to go to another home, because this home is not a good match right now. And
Yeah.
we have to get you into a better home. And it's not to say that you did anything, right? It's just not a good match. And um, we just want to make sure you're safe. And that can be your own family. I might have to remove you from your own family. And that's the people who you have blood relations with. And that's a difficult conversation to have. It's very, when you say vicarious trauma, is really because you take on that, because you see it from that child's eyes. Because all he wants to be is loved unconditionally.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be a reason that you love me. I'm a child, right? So, but in this world, he doesn't receive that. In this world, he receives, or she receives, conditional love. So it's hard to deal with that, but we make instances where we make sure that we do no harm, do less harm than what they are going through. So um, children are, I- um, um, children. And my son, I have a 6-year-old son. That one I told you we had to test him for. He was born with a hole in his heart. So just show you how resilient children are, right? So he had to have open heart surgery. Just put this in context of mental health and health, right? He had
Yeah.
to have open heart surgery. We took him to the hospital to have surgery on a Thursday. He was home on Sunday.
Mhm.
That shows you the resilience of children, how just
Mhm.
physically made up. And it's probably that way for a reason because children, just have the energy and they have if it was me or you, they had open heart surgery, we'd be in there for months. And
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
children, they are very resilient, but they're not immune.
Mhm.
Just believe they're not immune, but they're resilient. So if we can lean on the ability that we know that they have the strength and the capabilities to endure, and we can help heal them from that, right? And help build them, support them, and get them to a point of being regulated better from that trauma is important. So, and it don't have to it don't have to change the trajectory of their life. They can get into adulthood and move forward and do things as normal as possible. Uh, as a as you know, even though they went through the childhood trauma.
Yeah. Damn, that's crazy, man. I could imagine you said 6 years old when he had a half head?
Well, he had surgery when he was 1. They
Oh,
had to
so that was
wait
a
till.
second surgery.
No, he never had a second surgery. He's 6
Oh,
now,
okay. Okay.
but when he
Okay.
was
Oh, okay.
1, he had the surgery, and I just was in awe when I was like, because he was in, they had to prepare him for surgery. They had
Mhm.
tubes in him, all that. It was, just like an amazement of
Man.
like a higher calling. It was like this is deeper than anything that I've ever realized in my life. That
Yeah,
this.
that would have been rough for me to see, man.
Mhm.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ, I
yeah.
couldn't imagine that. I
But
could
they're
not
but they're
imagine that,
so
man.
it's so resilient. It's crazy. It's like, man, this is whew, like this boy. He was up crawling.
Mhm.
He was jumping out the bed, the hospital bed. He was
He's- he said, I've been cooped up too long.
running in the hallway.
I
Like,
know that's right. I know that's right. He said, I got some energy now, wherever it
yeah,
takes.
yeah,
Man, but
yeah.
hey guys,
But
do
yeah,
me a
this,
favor. Do me a favor and make sure y'all hit that like button, man. If y'all enjoying this good content that I'm bringing for you guys, talk about men's mental health. It's Men's Mental Health Month, the month of June, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button. You got that right. Push the goddamn button. Hit that like button, man. Do me a solid. I appreciate every last one of you guys who are here, man, who was rocking with me. And guys, if you're gonna watch it on replay, make sure you hit that goddamn like button. You're goddamn right. Hit that goddamn button. But let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Again, I said I was gonna drop it, and I'll make sure I will. After we go, I tell you, I say this. I'm going to drop the link right after we talk about this next subject right here. Definitely make sure I drop the link for anybody who may want to hit that link and come up. Again, if you cannot be on camera or don't feel comfortable with being on camera, that's okay. Just make sure when you're in the back, you cam up so I can see it's you as a real person, because I don't want nobody to get my channel flagged or messed around. So show me you're a real person, and then we can bring you up and we'll go from there. With that being said, we need to talk about this one. Another subject that I can relate to because I've been through it. I walked down this goddamn road, and that's divorce and depression. So January 2016, my divorce was final. I was messed up. I was messed up for a couple years. And I went to therapy for that. Because I was in a dark place. Let me be honest. I know some of the people on social media hear me say married men are winning. And that's true. But in 2016, I didn't feel that way. 2016, I said, fuck marriage. I mean, I'm just going to be blunt honest. 2016, I'll say, I'll never do it again. That was my mindset in 2016. I didn't see myself walking down the aisle, put myself through that shit again. And even though it was my fault that I got a divorce because of what the selfish decision that I made, I still wasn't willing to do it. When I made a decision, it was in 2011 when I cheated. But hear what I'm saying. I didn't get divorced until 2016. So we went to couples counseling. I'm thinking everything's all right, everything's good. But my ex never got past it. Never got over it. And I can't blame her. I wouldn't have went that long. If the shoe was on the other foot, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm being vulnerable. I wouldn't have went that long. It'd been immediately. I've been down to the goddamn courthouse talking to a lawyer. By the end of the day, once I found out the information, it's over. But I'm thinking everything's good. We're doing what we need to do to get, in a good place. But that wasn't the case. And so what happened? I have to accept that. I had to take blame. I had to take accountability because I made a selfish decision. And I got to live with that for the rest of my life. I'll forever have that scarlet letter on my name as a divorced man, a man who had a failed marriage. I have to accept that. Ain't nothing I can do about it. I can't change it. I can't do it over. I can't fix it. I got to accept it is what it is. But I went to therapy, and it took a couple of years for me to get past that and get over it and get through it, to even be open to marriage again. And so what ended up happening, and I'm being vulnerable, guys, me and my ex-wife got back together again. Unfortunately, it just didn't work. We tried. It just didn't work. She wasn't willing to meet my expectations, even though I was doing what she expected me to do. She wasn't willing to make those changes and the proper adjustments. So I shared with her, I'm not going to marry you again, because we're not going to do but end up in the same situation again. They got us here. And if that's the case, there's no need of me going down this road, spending this money, going through this mental anguish that I went through. There's no need of doing that. So we mutually agreed that we're going to part ways and move on. Now, lo and behold, 4 years later, I found a woman that required marriage. 4 years later, I found a woman that I felt good enough to marry. She lived up to the expectations that I expected from a wife. And I lived up to the expectations that she needed for a husband. She met my standards, I met hers, and I blessed her with my last name. Again, I was willing to get married, man. Doesn't mean it was going to happen, because I didn't know I was going to find that right woman. But lo and behold, the Lord has said, I got a bigger plan for you, Hank. And here it is. So I know about this. And this is the reason why I made this one of the subjects that I want to touch, that I want my man Tez to speak on about, because there's a lot of men going through this. Now, of course, they probably didn't make the selfish decision that I made, but doesn't make it any different. So, Tez, if you can, speak on this, big brother.
Oh yeah, this divorce, man, that's the people, it go hand in hand. Divorce and depression go hand in hand, no matter what people may think that divorce, it's mental health written all over it. And usually this is one of the most significant life transitions you're gonna ever have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other than, ultimately dying, but but um, that is, it is almost like losing your job, I mean, it's a partnership, a big business falling
Yeah.
through. It's because it's all wrapped into one. A relationship, a loving relationship, a union came together, and now it's going to be separated. You're not going to have that same relationship with that person. That's
Mhm.
a hell of a transition to make, and depression is definitely going to set in because of
Mhm.
that transition. It's almost like losing someone. Grief. It's a grief and loss situation, um, because now you have to change identity. You have to change your who you are and the other person are, in your life, because that's not going to be the same. And then there's a financial level of stress that comes with that. Um, uh, Loneliness come with that, right? Regret come with that. All the stuff that comes with that. Because the decision that you made, that you went into for being lifelong partners, is now coming to a reality that's ending that. Yeah, that's common. The depression is common. And and the other bit of it too is not just impacts the both of you, it impacts everybody around you, family, friends, children. Everything is changed now. Everybody has to change around you when they're talking with you, working with you, building with you, or so forth. So um, there is a big level of mental illness that comes after that, especially when it's in a situation of infidelity or whatever that may have came about. Then you got to ask yourself, the reasons why, and that come down the line why things were done, and how it could have been different. And so it's all that, kind of dealing with that piece too. Um, so it's part of the divorce is definitely an ending of a relationship. It represents not just the ending of a relationship, it represents a loss of dreams, a loss of expectations, family structure, future plans. Everything shifts now because of that.
Exactly.
The big thing I want to tell everybody in this whole everything that we go through is temporary.
Mm.
Everything, when mental health is concerned, is temporary. Some people, of course, there's the percentage that they may, is just the chemical imbalance and things of that nature, where they may need medication and things of that nature to kind of really change their mental health. But the majority of us, it's temporary. It's how we cope with it, how we create strategies to deal with it,
Mhm.
because it's inevitable, right? It's things that's gonna come in your life that that's gonna cause some mental anguish. Um, but it's how we kind of heal from it, because it's like pain. You're gonna get hit, right? We're gonna get hit, right? You're gonna have to put an ice pack on an ankle, or you're gonna have to put an ice pack on your feelings. You're gonna have to, your feelings are gonna get sore, just like your health, like your physical
Mhm.
being is gonna get sore. But it's a way of, how do we heal from that? How do we come back from having this pain inflicted on us, and come back come back better as a result of the pain, and really um, have a real true sound like you had a true support system, in your corner when you was going through the things that you was going through. You had a renewed sense of purpose. So you know those things start to shift. You got to rebuild a different routine now, which is possible, which is
Mhm.
important to do, so that it's not something that you dwell in and get stuck in. So I know a
Yeah.
lot of people who get stuck, and when I say stuck, I mean they get into an incident in their life and they get stuck there. And you ever met friends and they were like, man, remember when we used to do X, Y, and Z? And they stuck there mentally. They're stuck there.
That's all they want to talk about.
That's all they want to talk about. And you're like, man, we got to move beyond that.
Yeah,
We
I
got to
done
move
grew up. We
forward.
did. You talking about we was 10 to 12 years old. Why are we still doing this? What we talking?
So
Yeah.
you got to get unstuck from that. Because if you get stuck in that, then you're not gonna be able to progress and move forward. And
Mhm.
and that's the thing. You got to keep moving forward and being stuck in the situation. No one wants to be stuck in a situation. You want to have a way out, right? You want to have freedom to move about and not imprison yourself, imprison your feelings, imprison your thoughts. You want to have your thoughts be able to expand and move past um, what you're stuck in and what you're going through, right? Because it's just
Yeah.
temporary. It's just temporary.
Mhm.
But that's easier said than done, right?
That's true.
It's easier said than done.
That is definitely true. And I'm gonna drop this link for
Mhm.
anybody who wants to come up. Like I said, even if you can't be on camera, I need to see you in the back to prove that it's you, and then you can cam down and I can bring you up if you don't feel comfortable being on camera, but prefer to be on camera, be on camera. I'm gonna drop the link, but I know one of the things that I was sharing with you yesterday was I didn't realize until, one of the things in my state that they are requiring that the kids go to therapy as well. And
Mhm.
them sharing with me that we traumatized the kids by going through this situation. I never thought about it like it. Even when I was going through it, they might even said it. I just didn't know what that word meant. You know what I'm saying? Hearing it at the age of 10 years old, I just didn't understand it. But hearing it as a grown man and have a level of understanding, hearing that, I'm like, damn, thinking about it, like, shit, I didn't even think about that. To the point, it was so crazy. I had to apologize and share with my son what happened. What was the reason why me and his mother is no longer together? I had to share and apologize to my son. And you talking about one of the hardest thing a father has to do to his son is apologize for him making a self decision like that and hurting him and his mother and the family. That was tough, you know. My son had every right to say, F you, dad, I don't want to have nothing to do with you. And I couldn't be mad at him if he shared that sentiments. I couldn't be. Now, fortunate enough, he was raised right and he was, he forgave me and we moved on past it. It took a lot of couple conversations, but he's able to get past it and we in a beautiful place. But he had every right to feel that way. And I would not blame him not one bit because of the selfish decision that I made, the things that I did and decided to do that caused us to be in that situation, breaking up other family, not having to see my son 100% of the time now, 50% of the time. You know what I'm saying? Not getting to spend all the quality time with him like I used to be, or used to do. Not always, you know, seeing him all to sleep. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that affected my son because of the decisions that I made. So I didn't realize that, and when a therapist said it, I was like, "Damn, that's crazy." But now this me saying it kind of leaks into the next subject, and that's co-parenting stress. Fortunate for me, me and my ex didn't have that type of situation, right? We had a good co-parenting situation. We was able to communicate. We was cordial. Uh, you know, even though the court has sent us a schedule on how we're gonna do things, we didn't always follow it because we had an understanding. If there's times where I had to make adjustments because she had something to do her weekend and needed me to take him an extra weekend, that wasn't a problem. I got to see my son every day because he got picked up. Well, I picked him up from school after basketball practice and then all that. So I picked him up. He spent a night, and then when it was his time, his time to stay with his mom. He still was coming to me. She would come get him after she got off of work. So when I kept him for a week, she kept him for a week. I still got to see him even doing that. Now, of course, she didn't always spend a night with me because it was her time, but I was still able to see him on a daily basis. So we just, we able to work things out. Now, with my situation, with my daughter, did I have a time period where it was a little touch and go? Yeah, because there was a time where her mother didn't send her down on time, like schedule, and I had something planned for us. We were supposed to go to Disney World. She wasn't able to go because her mother said, "Well, I'm not going to send her down for whatever reason." You know what I did? I said, "The hell with this." I went to the court. I said, "Shit, y'all tell a white man on me in a minute. I'm gonna tell a white man on you." And I did that, and they forced her to pay half the price of the ticket for Disney World, and our means of transportation. We Because it was a family union, we chartered a bus. I got half the price of that because of that, because of what she did. She had to reimburse me, which was cool. That sound fair to me because it was an expense that I've incurred, and she wasn't able to enjoy. We had that one situation. She tried to, my daughter's mother tried to tell us how we need to parent her. I said, what we don't do is tell me how to parent at my house, just like I don't tell you how to parent at your home. So how y'all run things is how y'all run things. How I think we run things is our thing. Had to make that known and share it. And once I did that, it was it. You know what I'm saying? No business. Now, of course, I had to talk to her husband about it because it's obvious she didn't want to hear it, but he understood because he was in a blended family situation. So he already knew what was what. Like he said, I told him, I said, dog, let me tell you this. Would you want me living here in Kentucky to tell you how to live in California? How does that look as you as a man, me telling you how to do that? Well, that's how I feel. And that's not what we're going to do. So you need to talk to your wife about this situation because we're not doing that. She don't run shit over here, just like I don't run shit over there. Y'all run how y'all house like you run your house. I run mine like I run mine. It was a conversation, but that was really the only real issue that me and my daughter's mother had. But it had to be addressed. And for some people's situation, like my brother, he had one of them baby mamas that are from hell, where for years he wasn't able to see her because she was playing the games. You understand what I'm saying? And that's not cool. To the point where I was volunteering to be a mediator, drop my nephew over here, my brother come pick him up, and when it's time to exchange, he gone. You come, we'll call you when it's time for to come pick him up. But you got people who are dealing with situations like that, and that could be stressful. That could be annoying. That you have to do situations like this just to be a part of your children's life. That shouldn't be the case. But unfortunately, people are dealing with this. So, Ted,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
passionate
brother.
about
And
that because I understand.
you see, I'm married. So co-parenting stress. I would say parenting stress. You get that even if you inside of if you married, you got a mother and father inside the house. You deal with stressful parenting practices just
Mhm,
because your wife may think differently about some practices that you may have,
mhm,
and just because y'all was raised differently and brought up differently, and the big thing there is it's just so much collaboration, right? Just uh, collaborating is key. And, as a parent and when you're parenting a child, having the ability to kind of talk things through and plan things out for your children is essential. Is it going to be perfect? No, it's not going to be perfect, because you have two people that have to come together as one to, raise a child or children. So it's going to be some challenges here and there, right? It's going to be some, well, I think he should do this. Well, I think he should do that. I think, it's going to be, that's commonplace. Um, uh, the big thing that in your discussion about co-parenting, what you had to go through, it does cause a significant emotional strain, right? Because you have to work through those things, not from inside. You have to work from outside in, right? Because you don't know what's going on sometimes because they're in different spaces, or you only see, you're only able to make a decision or deal with something that's brought to your knowledge. Sometimes half the things that they're going through or decisions being made, you may not have the ability to kind of chime in on, right? Until later, right? So it's a level of communication, right? Having that firm communication with the partner that you're parenting with, and having the ability to be on the same page. And that's going to take work. That's going to take real work. Um, Having consistent approaches and talking about it, and make sure that consistency is the key. Uh, um, of course, you have to go through legal process to kind of help mitigate, what some decisions is being made. So that may have to come into play. You have to, advocate, because you have rights. You have just as equal rights to parenting your child as the other person. So have an ability to bring that to the forefront sometimes is difficult. It's challenging because it's just another, you don't know what the court's gonna say, and then the lawyers, and then you got other people involved, right? So it's always gonna make stuff murky. Um, but effective co-parenting requires focus, right? You got to be focusing on the child's needs, right? It's not your needs. It's not sometimes a lot of people use children, right? Not to say that in your relationship, but in a lot of relationships, children can be used for, personal gain, right?
Yes.
A lot of
Yes.
people who have child support is one of the big things, right? Um, so it's having both parents understand it ain't about me. It ain't about what happened between our relationship. It's about our child and what's best for that person. And a lot of people don't get. And I had issue. I had a child in previous relationship, and we just never resolved our issues. So we had a lot of conflict with um, raising my oldest, and it was just we needed, um, God bless my mother, because that we needed a mediator really to help get through a lot of stuff that we needed to for the child. But because we just couldn't get through our own conflicts and communicate. Um, so there are a level of stress that you go through when co-parenting that is inevitable. But there's ways to make sure that you build in structured communication, healthy boundaries, um, and that can improve, the relationship over time. Um, to focus on those things, but it takes two. It takes two, and that's the piece. Is sometimes it's when you're in a circumstance where it's the two parties don't aren't on the same page, but you still have a child. You have to kind of let go of some of that stuff to change the focus now. It's not about us anymore. It's about the child. So we're going to do what we have to do. And it took a lot for me as being the man. I had to eat a lot of humble pie, to take on a lot of, had to take on a lot because I did it to myself. So I had to take on a lot of, just look, I need to be in my child's life. I need to be there, and I'm not going to allow little stuff like what the other person is doing to, impact what I know is right. So it's a high level of stress to deal with. But I say all stress isn't bad. All stress isn't bad. We grow from some of the stress that we go through. We come out on the better end of it, and we see the fruits of our labor, right? So the stress is gonna challenge us because we have to have uncomfortable conversations, difficult conversations to get to what is quality, what is really important. And it changes us all together for the better when we have these difficult conversations. And we come out and we test ourselves. We know what we're about. We have a better level of self-awareness of who we are and what we can do and what we can endure. Um, and your child is a testament, like the relationship you have with your child at the end of the day is what matters. Um, and nothing is going to take away that. So yeah, personal conflicts, parenting responsibilities, the stuff that we've been taught and raised, our values, how important. I run in child welfare. I used to be amazed in how many that fathers was not involved at all in the foster care system. I was amazed. I'm a man. Like I come to homes and I'm like, where's the dad? I'm always talking to the mom, but where's the dad? And for something, the system is not built to have dads involved as we can. And when I start analyzing the work that I was doing and really being a student of what I'm doing and wanted to really change lives, I really understood the dads wasn't as valued in this system as the moms, right? And for whatever reason, we kind of neglect, and it wasn't just the dads that saying that they wasn't involved. It was our own doing. We allowed it to be that way because there's no, in our society, our values towards dads are just minimal. We don't hold high level, expectations for fathers as we do for mothers. And let's be honest, it's not as important in the system world as so fathers see the disconnect. They see the value isn't there, and that rubs them the wrong way, right? And that impacts their behavior. So being involved, fighting for situations and in instances when you are co-parenting and not putting as much burden on the mother to do all the raising of the child. And we know, and it's a myth. Like you see the dad be dads and all like what they promote here on TV and society. It's different in the Black community, right? It's different for fathers. It's a different, way of, what we're dealing with. and even in relationships, it's a different for Black men. And let's really talk about that. Let's really explore that, and let's benefit from it.
Yeah. I know one of the things that was on my man. My fact, I was on my man Black Man's Unfiltered BMU show last night. One of the things that we talked about was, the child support system. And that was really concerning to me. I do know that there are some trash ass mamas out there. I understand that mamas that are abusing the child support system. We will understand that too. But one of the things I was definitely challenged in where I said, well, get custody.
Yep.
And then you don't have to worry about paying support. You get support. And don't turn the support away talking about, I'm too proud to get all bull crap. Because at the end of the day, it's not for you, it's for that child. Let's be honest. That's who it's for, not for you, it's for the child. So if that's what that means, then that's what that means. And guess what? Now you can upgrade a little bit. You can afford it. Okay, cool. Now you can upgrade a little bit. Maybe get that child a better bedroom set, huh? Maybe get them a better laptop or a better iPad or matter of fact, iPhone. I'm not an iPhone guy. I'm an Android guy. I hope you're not an iPhone guy. You took
I'm an Android, yep. I get a lot of grief on that
right.
too.
Yeah. Well, it's because we're smart.
Right.
iPhones for the dummies. But no, I'm just saying, upgrade maybe whatever you need to upgrade with that extra money. Invest that money. Use that money to start a college fund for that child. Whatever means you have to do for that little extra money that you're getting from the other person, then do that. But that child is entitled to that. Don't take that from the child just because you won't let your pride get away. I don't need your child support money. Bull crap. Your child does. Because your child gonna say, Daddy, can I have extra 20 because you cash at me this and that. I know my son does that shit. When I was in college. Daddy, me and my teammates going out and get some wings. You send me $20. Say, hey, boy, I'm sick of you. How many swipes you got? You got no swipes. Eat at the cafeteria.
Right, we got food at home. Come and cook some.
Oh shit! Well, he's going to be going to Charlotte, North Carolina. So he's gonna be playing ball down there. So he can't just come home and get no food there. So he gonna have to.
He gonna have to do something.
He's gonna be hitting me up even more. Yeah, but I told him, boy, you got 3 swipes a day. You better make it before that cafeteria close.
It's different now. It's different at these schools.
Yeah. It's definitely different. But no, let's just talk about this thing with involving child support, of course, with the co-parent thing. It's definitely a problem, man, when you got people who don't want to do right. Unfortunately, child support came into fruition because people wasn't doing right. They wasn't taking care of their families, their kids. And so that's the reason why the whole system came about. If they was doing it, we wouldn't have this system. But unfortunately, the system here for a reason. And you still got people in 2026, like you said, daddies don't want to do right by their kids. They okay with just being weekend fathers and see them every other week or during the summertime and send them back during the when they go back to school. They okay with it. I wasn't with that. That's not what I wanted. I wanted my son all the time. Your boy, I need to have him around me all the time. He got some man training to learn. So, but that was a conversation I was able to have and we was able to work it out. Not everybody has that dynamic. Unfortunately, they have to fight to see their kids. They have to fight with dealing with child support and being in the rearage, possibly losing their license or losing their freedom or losing their passport or have to quit a job in order to or getting a second or third job in order to maintain and pay that support. Some of those things I had to do. You know what I'm saying? I remember getting a second job in order to pay for my legal fees so it don't cut into my bill money. You know what I'm saying? I remember doing that in order to get what I need to get. Now, it worked out for me. And, once I got, that situation all settled, I got my daughter. as far as the custody, and then I could let the job go. I didn't have to work it no more. But for that brief period of time, yeah, I worked at Home Depot restocking shelves at night in order to pay for my attorney fees. Hell yeah, I did what I had to do though. I'm just saying, I did what I had to do. Uh, what's that? What's say? Pickle said, "Damn sure did it." Chick-fil-A owed me stock options. I know that's right. Shout out to Chick-fil-A. Stacking new memories, experience, and get what was that? To get free. What Mills? What are you saying, brother? What are you saying in this message? I feel like he's ready. He wants to hit that link so he come up here and talk about Scottie Pippen again. We're not gonna let you do that, Mills. We're not gonna let you abuse Scottie Pippen and all his greatness. He's a top 75 all-time player. You disrespect for that man. Stop doing that shit. We need to stop this. Let's keep going. We're not gonna let Mills throw us off the game plan because it's all about men's mental health month. Shout out to the month of June for that. And that's why we're having a conversation today. Shout out to my man Tez for coming tonight and hanging out with me, man. Us having this great conversation, talk about these great subjects that I know men could definitely benefit from. One of my next subjects I definitely want to talk about, and there's only a couple more we're gonna kind of touch on before we shut it down for tonight. And this one right here is men and loneliness. Right? This is something that I had to deal with, right? Whenever my son wasn't with me, and I'm in this cold house, this 4-bedroom house. I got all these bedrooms and only one person living in it and staying in it on a regular basis. My son had his own room, but he wasn't there all the time, right? Because due to the situation of the divorce. It gets a little lonely, a little scary at times, man. And when you by yourself, you start thinking and pondering and wondering and like, man, what is life have for me? What is my next move, my next step? Am I going to get back out in this dating world and start dating again? Me in my 40s, do I want to do this? You know what I'm saying? And during them 2-year period, I was just being an asshole, being a monster, just, linking up with women just to have sex. I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna be honest. And I was a demon. I was on demon time for them 2 years of going through my divorce and all that stuff. I was on demon time. I like these 304s. I don't give a shit about it. I just want some ass and get them up out of my house. I was that was my mindset. And that's how I was moving. Again, I wasn't looking for no real relationship. I was just looking to get some ass. I'm lonely. Girl, what you doing? Why don't you come on through? I'll meet you. Your kids sleep, I'll be over. I was on that bullshit. I know it wasn't right. But during that time, I didn't care. And my wife said, spare the details.
Yeah.
No, baby. Let me tell you what I was doing. I had my Bible, and I was going over and I was praying with these women, trying to save souls. I was soul saved. I was a solitary church man trying to save the souls. I was doing God's work. She said, liar.
Well, Hank,
But
I would say many men struggle with that. They struggle with having the ability to be in a relationship with someone where it's not about a romantic
I'm talking
interest,
too
right?
much.
Yeah. So that's not just you. It's a lot of men who they don't have the capability to be in a social platonic relationship with someone from opposite sex without having a romantic interest involved. And that's just a lot to do with, just the way they just was, well, society, first of all, tells us that we should only be involved with women that way. But that's not how, important having an emotionally supportive friendship, who, the romantic or the sexual relationship curbs, one thing, it don't curb, you need someone who are going to entice you mentally and spiritually and and can impact you and have an emotional connection on so much other different levels than just sexually. So that's one thing that we have struggles with. We struggle in that arena. I would say, in my older age and my youth, I struggle with it big time, right? Because it's a difficult transition to be able to have friendships that way, because it relies for a deeper connection. It relies on vulnerability, being vulnerable and exposing yourself and exposing some of the stuff that you don't have together. Because we all want to be perceived that we got everything perfect. We got, our finances is taken care of. Our health is being taken care of, and social way we got all everything taken care of. But in the real world, in reality, we don't have it all taken care of. So it takes a village. It really takes more than just ourselves to really get to where we need to be. And loneliness is real. Loneliness. You can be amongst a group of people and still be lonely. You can be you can be amongst a whole conglomerate of folks, but there's no connection. So you're lonely, even amongst people. So really having, and that's a big concern in society today, is that now that stuff is moving in a way that is being more easy to disconnect, being more able, socially isolate with social media and Facebook and all these other entities, where no one is the old school social interaction with you sit down with someone and really talk and express how you feel. And now you got texting and all this other stuff that's coming in the pipeline that really limits the engagement piece. So it's a growing concern. It's going to get even worse in society. So it's something to really take heed to, because isolation increases depression, it increases anxiety, substance abuse, suicidal thoughts. You sit alone. What's the song? I'm dating myself.
The Ghetto Boys, mind
Yeah, the
playing tricks
ghetto
on
boy.
me.
Yep. Yeah. When you isolate those, your thoughts gets the best of you. I tell people when I provide therapy, I tell them, I say, look, just because I'm a therapist don't mean I have all the answers to your life struggles. That's not my role. If I could resolve or solve, I would be in a bigger role than a therapist. So when we sit together, all I'm here for you is we're gonna walk this walk together. We're gonna go on this journey. And this journey is about what you want to see happen at the end of the day in your life. And we're gonna walk it, and we're gonna figure out what's going on, and we're gonna come up with some ways that possibly it can resolve it. Not gonna be 100% that it's gonna resolve your issues, but something to think about, another avenue to see how it may go. And I tell them it's better to, two heads better than one. And we're gonna walk it, and I'm gonna walk with you hand in hand, and we're gonna figure this out. And that's what that's what I'm here for, and that's what I can give you. And that's what sometimes you need someone to be able to hear you, because loneliness is about sometimes being not heard. No one listening to me. No one's really taking what I have and really value it. And sometimes people just want to be heard, to feel connected. And so that's important to give them that avenue and give, because we're social people. We're very, we learn, it's a community approach to all this. Is really, because no one made it in this world by themselves. Until we talked yesterday, I was saying, and no one, I mean, no one can do this thing called life by themselves, because there's trials and tribulations all up and down life. And
For sure.
you meet someone who can do it by themselves, I like to meet that person, because there's no one.
I know that's right.
No, because and that's what that's what, especially, and you mentioned it too, man. Pride is really, we're so prideful, and
Yes.
I can't ask for help. I said, man, look, you drowning. I put it like this: you in the sea, and you out there at the sea. You can't swim, and you drowning. All you need is somebody just give you a life raft, a life. Just throw me something. Just let me get a breath. Let me lean on something. And that's all you need. Just to lean for a sec. Get your bearings together.
And a lot of people don't realize how much of a difference that makes too, for real. It really, it does make a difference. I know for me, like I was sharing with you the other day, I remember when I was going through that situation, and my buddy, man, they are married, and I usually hang out with couples, and I had to take myself out of that situation because I wasn't married any longer. So I felt some type of way about hanging out with married couples as a single man, recently divorced single man. I felt like it wasn't my place to be there because I'm the odd man out. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like the third wheel. But you know something? Him as a good guy, a good friend, he realized there was a need. He invited me over for Thanksgiving, because normally for Thanksgiving we do stuff, for our family, and then my family gets together for Christmas. So really, I had nowhere to go. Didn't really cook anything, but man, he opened up his house and invited me over for Thanksgiving. Man, I went over for Thanksgiving. Man, had dinner, broke bread with him. Man, laugh, watch games, football games, and just chilling, just interacting with friends and family. You know what I'm saying? And that meant the world to me. And I shared that with him, man. I said, I appreciate you even open up your home to me, because you knew what I was going through. You knew I was down. I was in a dark place, but you found it, you found it enough to give me a call, say, man, Hank, what you doing, man? Why don't you come on over, man, break bread with us? And I appreciate him and his wife and his family opening up his doors for that, because he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to at all. You know what I'm saying? He could enjoy his family and didn't have to share his family with me, but that's what he did. Knowing I was in a bad place of loneliness, a solitude, nobody around, nobody to participate with and all that, because due to my situation, but that meant the world. That meant the world to me because of what I was going through, where I was at the time. And of course, like during that time, my ex had my son, um, because it was her time. Now I got Christmas, but she got Thanksgiving, so that was a rotation. Um, and she knew Thanksgiving. I don't really do anything anyway, but it would have helped me a lot if my son was there, because then I well, would have gave me a reason to get in the kitchen, to cook up a Thanksgiving dinner for her. But what am I gonna do for myself? So I was willing to go out and get some Chinese food. That was my plan. I'm gonna go get some Chinese food and just call it a day. That was my plan. But lo and behold, my buddy called me that morning and he said, "Come on through, Hank. You ain't got to spend the holidays by yourself. You know what I'm saying? That ain't what you got to do. You know what I'm
And
saying?
see,
So
that's the testament of people, because you would think, and I've talked to people, I was like, who is your support? And they have no one. They have no one. They can't give me an emergency contact number. They can't give me no one that says, who's supportive of me, um, and feeling, who they can rely on to make sure that they, are either just engaged with someone. They have no one, and that's a testament to your friend who reached out, because they don't know. Well, they may have a sense, but they don't know, and they just it's like, look, a lot of people need to do that more, reaching out and being supportive of others, and regardless of what they're going through, because everybody needs that contact, that connection, and just if it's just brief time, just a distraction from what they're going through every day. Um, so
let me acknowledge this is the super chat from my man Chicago Rilla. He said, "Peace to you, Hank. Thank you for making a space for Black male experience." Hey man, let me say this. This is one of my brothers, man. That we both collect vinyl. We are record collectors, and we like to collect good music. Shout out to that brother, man. We always talk about men's mental health, man, and how important it is for us, and it's something that we should take seriously. That we should definitely talk about and have discussion about. Well, that's why I do shows like this, because I know the importance of men's mental health. I know how much a lot of men are really dealing with this, but not just saying shit. They just holding that shit in, or letting their pride get away and feel like, I'm too good to talk about. I ain't got to talk about it. No, 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 dog. We need to talk about it. We need to talk, because it's something that needs to be talked about. Now we also got my man Mills come through with this bullshit. We boycotting child, bro. Man, I don't understand that. We doing it now, but I'm talking about 20. I'm talking about 2016, where we was all eating at the Chinese restaurant, eating at the hibachi and the buffet and shit like that. I'm talking about then. I ain't talking about now. Now, he can't get a dime from it. Y'all just make sure some of your girlfriends stay away from there and get them goddamn nails and weaves done now. Y'all do right by them. Mr. Jones said, "I'm here just to show some support." Ain't right on, Mr. Jones. I appreciate your brother. Thanks for coming through. Shout out to you, man. With that being said, we're gonna wrap this thing up, man, because I know it's been a long day for the brother, and he's gonna get the opportunity and celebrating his birthday tomorrow, man. He's gonna turn the big nickel, the 55. You know what I'm saying? Celebrating 55 years around this sun and moon and the stars. So I'm not gonna hold my brother up, brother Tez, up too long, but I just want to allow you with a final thought today for the brothers out there who are going through, who are challenged and dealing with what they dealing with.
So yeah, across all these discussions we had, from discussing the suicide, trauma, depression, relationships, loneliness, the common thread I want to share is the emotional health, right? Having emotional health is important. And when I say emotional health, that's just like you do with physical health. When you have, an arm sprain or a knee injury, or you have pain in you get it checked out, right? You go to the doctor, you get it checked out. You should do that too for emotional health, right? If you having some stuff that you just can't get through, you should get checked out. You can always reach out to a therapist or a clinician who will be able to really, able to diagnose you and treat you and get some intervention that best supports you. Um, so there's ways that you can, get, uh, you can heal and get emotionally healthy on that aspect. As a clinician over 20 years of my experience, I've learned that healing begins when people feel safe, safe enough to tell their story. And it's not no one else's story, it's their story, their testimony. When they feel safe and comfortable to come to grips with talking about some things that is, opens up a whole Pandora's box about what really drives their behavior and their thoughts and their feelings. That's when the real work starts to happen, because you examining those experiences, and you recognizing what's, maybe the reason why you do the things that you do, and it's really important to know those things to make a change. And a lot of times that's what it requires, just a shifting of way you look at things, the way you deal with things, the way you approach things. So seeking support is a big sign of strength. You know, asking for help is strength. It's all. No one can do it by themselves. There's no weakness, no whatsoever around asking for help. People do it all the time. So why shouldn't you? Uh, and like when you go to the doctor and the doctor's asking you all about your physical, what's going on with your health, you tell them exactly what's going on. That's how they better assist you and help you with making sure they can give you the best treatment. And you don't leave out anything. You give them the straight, and this is what I'm feeling, this is what's going on, and then they can move accordingly. That's what you should do with your emotional piece too, your mental health. You should be able to lay it all out online and really give the practitioner, everything uh, that's going on, so they can make a good diagnosis and treatment plan for you. So stay strong, and when I say stay strong, stay connected. Stay if you're spiritual, stay connected to your spirit. Therapy and spirituality go hand in hand. So if you lean into those avenues that gives you strength, gives you purpose, gives you what's important. And that's the thing. Sometimes we don't think about what's important to our lives every day. What is the importance here? What are we doing? What do we wake up in the morning every day? What do what is important? What is the big picture thing in our life? We so used to doing this, just getting up doing the same stuff over and over and over again. We lose value in what's the important thing in life. And keep that in your forefront of your mind, and everything else will come, um, will come after, if you stay committed to knowing what's important to you, what drives you. And I have, I'm a big family guy. I'm a big, um, I have, every day I have a picture of my children, my wife, and I tell people sometimes I go and working in mental health. people try you, right? They try. Well, in general life, people try you. And sometimes you need a second just to kind of, digress and put things back in perspective and be like, what this is what I'm here for. And I'm not going to allow that stuff that you want me to get, you want to draw out of me that, will put me in the worst predicament that I would ever be in. So let me stay focused. Stay focused on my purpose, stay focused on what I'm here for, and stay focused to my trade, because I know that it can help, and I know it. I've seen it help. So don't allow for, like you said, the demons and the devils to come and play in your arena, because when they come and play in your arena, then bad things happen, right? So
That's a fact. That's a fact.
So stay strong in your mind, because in the end of it all, there's no one can impact you but you. You are, you are the one who's doing the work. You living the life. You can talk to somebody, you can express your feelings, but in the end of the day, you have to make that change, and you have to do the work that requires it to happen. And take notice to that, celebrate that, and bringing that back into focus. So that's me on my soapbox.
Tez, I promise you, I appreciate you being here tonight, man. Let me get my final thought, and we're gonna get up out of here. With that being said, Black man, protect yourself at all times. Whether you got to get on somebody's couch or somebody's Zoom meeting, man, get your mental right. Guys, do what you got to do. Get your A1C in order, get your blood work, get your full physical. Take care of yourself. You only get one shot at this goddamn thing. And a man of a certain age, like me and brother Tez, get your colonoscopy. Go get your prostate check. Go get those things done, man, because you don't want to go through them. I watched my grandfather go through it. It wasn't a pretty sight. So definitely make sure, because the earliest you can get to it, the better off chance you got to deal with it. I promise you that. Guys, with that being said, I appreciate every last one of you guys being here. Make sure y'all do me a favor and hit that goddamn like button. Push the goddamn button. That's going to help me push through the algorithm. Stuff and information like this is greatly needed, especially for us men. Especially us men who need this type of information, who need this type of conversation, who need to be vulnerable and transparent, and to help other men, not only men of our age, men of younger age, because these guys are going through it too. Don't think it's just all old heads are just dealing with what they're dealing with now. Men of all ages, young boys, your sons are dealing with this. Your young sons, you might have a 5-year-old son that's dealing with some shit you don't even know about. But you got to make sure you're able to see the signs and able to address them as soon as you see them. Don't wait. Don't put it off. Don't tell, oh, he'll be fine. No. Don't do that boy like that. He deserves better. So give him better. And be the light that your son needs. Be the light that your nephew needs, that your little cousins need, that your little brother needs. Be the light, be the example that you need to be for him. And so he can get the help that he needs. You understand what I'm saying? And make sure you be the example that you need to get from your peers, your co-workers, your loved ones. So with that being said, I appreciate every last one of you guys being here. I will catch you beautiful people on the next one. Right on.